All right, so today we have Jennifer Svennes with us. She's the Vice President of Neuroengineering. They are a water wastewater company based out of the Minneapolis area. She has presented at several technical conferences, so she's an expert in her field. And one of the cool things about Neuro is that they work from home. So this allows her to, we're all working from home now, but they have always been working from home. So allows for the flexibility with kids and family and kind of balancing all of that. So with that, thanks for joining us today, Jen. And I guess maybe if you could give us a little background as to, growing up and what's your backstory. Disclaimer, you're also my sister-in-law, so I know a lot of this stuff, but just your backstory and kind of what got you engaged and excited about engineering, and just, I guess if you could kind of start with your background.
Okay. I grew up in a small town in western Minnesota, about 3,000 people, and my parents had my dad installed septic systems and had an excavation business growing up. And my mom is a part-time nurse, and we would, so we lived on like an acreage right outside of town. And I have a brother who's 12 years older than I am and a sister who's 7 years older. So in a way, I was kind of like an only child because we were all at different stages of our lives. But, one of the things that I did a lot as a kid is I would just go with my parents when they had to work. So I was on job sites with my dad, and he also with his excavation equipment and stuff would dig and cover graves. So I spent a lot of time in cemeteries, which is kind of weird. My friends that would come with us always thought it was kind of weird, but it was just, what we did. And I was just with them, and my parents were very hardworking. And so, but I had a lot of freedom, and it was nice having that acreage to grow up on, where I had freedom to explore and run, and there was always dirt piles around, and I had a ton of kittens to play with, and just felt like I had a really good childhood. And then I had like my best friend grew up next door, so just a lot of positive experiences growing up in a small town. And I'll just leave it at that.
So with your dad having the excavation business, did that ever spark anything? Because there's a tie there, like an excavation business and water wastewater, like that's step one in construction for water wastewater. Was he ever like installing pipe, or I guess when and what kind of drew you to engineering?
So there was always, so he would design the septic systems. He was had a certification to design the septic system. And when I got into high school, I would work with like summers with him, and, as a laborer and stuff. And I would say I wasn't I don't know if I ever thought as a kid or growing up that engineering would be a route I would take, but my dad certainly was always encouraging. I would say later when I was trying to make a career choice, he encouraged that. But growing up, what my dad would do all the time was ask me questions and teach me. Like, he just loves to teach. And so, a bug would smash on the windshield of our car, and he'd ask what kind of bug it was, and then would explain how we can tell from its remains that it was, a certain honeybee or something. And then we'd be driving by like some, electrical lines, and he'd ask, what do you think, what kind of current do you think's going through those? And would teach me about all the electrical. Obviously that didn't stick, but crops in a field, what kind of crop is it that we're driving by? Just everything. It was always a learning experience with my dad, and something that maybe as a kid I didn't fully appreciate, but as an adult I do. And along with his business and stuff, he was always teaching about what what went behind the design of a septic system and things like that. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if that like sparked my interest in engineering. It wasn't until later that came, but
definitely establish the structure of the thought process of like how things work.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So cool. So, as a kid, what did you think you wanted to be when you grew up?
When I was probably a really young kid, I think I wanted to be a veterinarian just because I loved my kitties. I would always there are pictures of me with just a basket of kittens in my I don't know if it's right to do, but I'd put them in the basket of my bike. And then I just every picture I just had kittens all around me, and I love my growing up on having that acreage and having cats. It was just so fun to have those animals. But as I got older, in high school, I wanted to be a French horn player.
Okay. Which you were. I mean, I know a little bit of your backstory, right? So, but you are a very good French horn player because you played in college as well, right?
Yeah. Yep. But I really loved it. It was, and I love it. I still love it. And in ninth grade, I think that's when maybe you start getting the questions of, well, start thinking about your future and stuff. And that's what I thought I maybe want to do. And my dad said, that's fine. I think you can do it, but you should know it's really competitive. You probably should drop some of your other activities and focus more on practicing, many hours a day, because it's just kind of a hard career to go forward with. And I was like, well, I don't really want to drop my other activities because I really enjoy doing a lot of things. So it's not that I let that dream go, but I think he always was good at, making it realistic. Maybe that's not a realistic, or maybe it would have been if I were more passionate about it. But I think hearing what has to happen to be able to do a career like that made me think I'd rather have this as a hobby than as a, career. So, so yeah, so those were the two careers I remember wanting to go into.
Okay. So when did you decide civil engineering then?
So when I was, I don't know, whenever we have to choose a major in college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Okay. Got my blanket too.
But I knew I liked science and math. I always really enjoyed science and math classes. And my dad, of course, I realized as I'm talking how much my dad has influenced my life. But he kind of just went through all the different disciplines of engineering and encouraged, just encouraged me to consider that as a career path, because he thought it would be a good career. And I think he really enjoys engineering too. So he got his degree in agricultural engineering. But anyway, he went through electrical, mechanical, civil, and civil engineering just piqued my interest the most because I like the kind of at the time I liked how broad it was, and I didn't know for sure what I wanted to do, but I thought it would be a good, broad field to go into. And definitely like mechanical and electrical wasn't too interesting to me when he explained it. So anyway, I went to civil, started college, and as I got more into the program, I realized like how much I enjoyed the people I was around. And especially when I got into water wastewater classes, I just really enjoyed the topics and found that was really interesting. And so I think it wasn't until I kind of got through my water wastewater classes, I felt like this is really what I want to do for a career.
That's awesome. So, like we talked a little bit about the fact that you played French horn up until college, you still play it today. How do you think that, like, does that mesh with engineering, or has that helped your engineering career at all? You think, like, the fact that using both sides and creativity with, the music side of things, and then, the logical side of things with engineering, like, do you feel like that has helped your engineering career?
I definitely think there's a connection between music and math, and I think it's hard to draw hard lines of how it's connected, but I certainly think that having a wide range of interests can help in whatever you do. Mm-hmm. It's I think well-roundedness is not only important but fulfilling. It's why we wanted to raise our kids in a small town, because I feel like they'll have the opportunities that I had in a small town to be in sports, be in music, be in math team, be in whatever they want to do, and really, get that, I guess, well-rounded experience growing up. And I think that can continue. So, yeah, I can't draw like direct lines, but I think having different interests and stuff is probably good and helps me to be a better engineer.
Sure. So what one unexpected hobby be that you have?
I am a modern dancer. So I grew up doing lyrical ballet and jazz, and then in college I was part of a studio and got more into like modern contemporary dancing. And I just love it so much. And the expression through dance, it's just one of my favorite things to do. And I was lucky to continue when I moved to the cities to be part of a studio or go to classes at a studio in Minneapolis, where it was really, a great experience there too. And I hope to continue someday when things open up again.
Yeah, and I think, it's real hard to see from the screen, but like you walk with a poise that, like, you're just very poised with a straight back, and like you can tell that you're a dancer. So that's awesome, and what a great hobby to have. I think it's so important to have hobbies. So okay, so for your career, like switching back to that, what has been one thing, like one risk that you have had to take to get where you are now?
I don't even know if it was a big risk, but I started out working at a company near Sioux Falls, and it was a great company. I have a lot of respect for them and what they do, and I loved working there. But I had an opportunity up in the cities, and originally right after, and by the cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, originally right after going to college at SDSU, Aaron, my husband, then my boyfriend, fiance, we had thought we wanted to move out to the cities, but it was during the recession, so no one was hiring out here and stuff. So anyway, I was lucky enough to get this job opportunity down near Sioux Falls, but then about a year and a half later, kind of out of the blue, got a message from an engineer at TKDA, and they were looking for a wastewater engineer, and I kind of always have the viewpoint that it doesn't hurt to just talk and listen and see where it goes. So I didn't really expect the conversation to really go anywhere, but we had a talk, and really, it was just really good. He seemed like a very technical and smart engineer, and they had a lot of exciting projects coming up that I thought I could get, some good experience, the type of experience that I wanted. I'm really interested in the treatment, like process of wastewater. So they had some exciting opportunities or projects that they needed help with, and we just really, it just felt like I could learn a lot from this person. And so even though I just signed a lease on an apartment, a year lease, this was like only a couple months after I signed that, it just seemed like too good of an opportunity to pass up. So Aaron, my husband, moved with me. We moved up to the cities. We lived in an apartment in downtown St. Paul, and I worked at that job for 3 years or so, and gained, a lot of experience. And from there is what led me to what I'm doing now. So I think I never would have expected to be doing what I'm doing now, but was lucky enough to get there through following that opportunity, I guess.
So as people that I think both of us are kind of this way of like, you have a plan and you're going to stick to it, right? Like, this is the goal, we're going to stick to it. But instead of doing that with like your job that you had in South, or I guess it was in Iowa, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You had an opportunity and you went for it, right? So that's awesome.
Yeah, I've always, I don't know. I think everyone has gut feelings, and you gotta go with them. So it's just gut feeling. And he turned out to be just, one of the best mentors I had. It was a bit of a shorter mentorship than maybe I had thought when I moved out here, but it was still, I learned so much at that job. So
that's awesome. So what would you say you're passionate about? Like, what would be something that you're passionate about?
This is a tough one. I think probably raising my kids to be, open-minded, critical thinkers. I want to do, what my dad did, and try to teach him as much as I can of just, the surroundings, things around us, and then encourage them to explore different perspectives and recognize fact from opinion, all those things. And secondly, from my mom, because I haven't talked much about her, but she It's just one of the kindest people you would ever meet, and um, teaching them the importance of kindness, and how much that can just be a reward for yourself when you're kind to everyone else. It's just that's my main goals in life, is to teach them those things.
And that's awesome. And I see it in you. I see both your mom and your dad, because I have the privilege of knowing them a little bit too, but I see your dad's critical thinking and hardworking, and just, the how it works side, but then also your mom, she's also a very hard worker, and just her kindness and compassion and empathy for other people. And I see that in you, in your work, and I also see it with the kids. So
you're gonna make me cry.
Sorry. Okay, on to something funny. I'll tell a joke.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the next question. Okay, so who is someone that inspires you? You've talked a lot about your dad, but yeah, so I mean, that's pretty easy to guess. But
yeah, really all my family, like all my close loved ones. Like we said, my dad is just so interested and always working on, wanting to learn, wanting to be educated. And that's so important for, that's something he wanted to instill in us, and I think was successful with all of us. And really that came from my grandma. His mother was just a very big advocate for education. So, then my mom is just the selfless, kind, caring, just wonderful person that she is so inspiring. She always, she has such an ability to make everyone feel important. And it's like something I recognized growing up, just going to a store and how the clerk would just respond to her was just great, awesome. And then my sister is so hardworking and relentless with her determination. She's just great. And my brother is so creative and funny and just artistic. He's just, there's so many pieces of all of them that I just have admired my whole life. And then I married just the best, most supportive, down to earth, curious, person who couldn't be a better partner, and his family. I just feel so lucky and inspired by his parents and you. And yeah, so, but maybe most importantly, my children are just, they probably give me the biggest inspiration day to day of, wanting to aim higher for everything and be the best I can be for them. So
I think it's cool, you're naming off your family members and stuff, and just I think all of us are so much bigger than one or two characteristics. I see there's certain things that you learn, being the youngest of three, there's certain things that you learned from your parents and from your older siblings. And I see pieces, bits and pieces of all of them in you. And I think that's so cool, and so cool that just people in general are so much more than, one or two characteristics. They're just so much more diverse than that. But I do see those things that you named off. I see so many of those things in you too, and I'm sure it comes from them. So yeah. All right, well, thanks for joining us today. We'll sign up.
As you can see, engineers can be emotional, probably too emotional.
Yes, and artistic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.